In this concept, we're going to talk about inscribed angles. An inscribed angle is an angle that is formed by two chords and a vertex on a circle. So two chords intersecting at one vertex. Okay, this is called the inscribed angle, and this is the intercepted arc. So an intercepted arc is an arc that is formed between two chords on a circle. The measure of an inscribed angle is equal to half the measure of the intercepted arc. Okay, so here, for example, the measure of angle BAC is equal to half the measure of arc BC. Let's look at an example. Find the measure of arc AB. Well, so we have an inscribed angle 35 degrees, so angle ACB. So we know that the inscribed angle, the measure of the inscribed angle is half the measure of the intercepted arc, so then in this case the measure of the intercepted arc is twice this angle, which is 70 degrees. Okay. Types of inscribed angles. So if we have two inscribed angles intercepting the same arc, just like we have here, then both inscribed angles are congruent, right? So here we have angles BAC and BDC intercepting this arc, BC. Therefore, both of these angles are congruent. So if we know one of them, the other angle should be the same value. Another type of inscribed angle is an angle that intercepts a semicircle, right? So an inscribed angle that intercepts a semicircle, in which case that inscribed angle will have to measure 90 degrees, right? Because the measure of a semicircle, the angle measure of a semicircle is 180 degrees. So if an angle is inscribing a semicircle, it has to be a right angle, measuring 90 degrees. Another type of inscribed angles shows up with quadrilaterals. So if we have a quadrilateral inscribed inside a circle, then opposite angles of the quadrilateral have to be supplementary, meaning they have to add up to 180 degrees, right? So here's an example. Quadrilateral ABCD is inscribed on this circle, in which case the opposite angles have to add up to 180 degrees. So angle C, or angle BCD I mean, and angle BAD have to add up to 180, and these two angles also have to add up to 180. Okay? Let's look at some examples. Find the measure of angle 1 in this circle. So since it inscribes, angle 1 inscribes a semicircle, right? How do we know that? Well, because this is the diameter, right? It goes through the center, so this has to be a semicircle. Therefore, the measure of angle 1 has to be 90 degrees, okay? So it has to be a right angle, since it inscribes a semicircle. Find the measure of angle 2. Well, so angle 2 and this angle both intercept this arc. Therefore, angle 2 has to equal this angle, right? 20 degrees, because they are congruent. Tangents and intercepted arcs. So if we have an angle formed by a tangent and a chord, and that angle will be equal to half the measure of the intercepted arc. So this is a tangent, right, B, and the chord AB, right, they make up some angle. This is not the angle of the tangent, right, so the 90-degree angle has to be with the center of the circle, which may be somewhere here. Then this would be 90 degrees, right? But this this angle that we have here is the angle between the tangent and some chord, right? This is not necessarily the diameter of a circle, so keep that in mind. In the circle below, the measure of angle B is half the measure of arc ACB. Okay. So measure of angle B is half the measure of the inscribed arc between the tangent and the chord. Here is another example. Find the measure of angle B. Right? So we know that this much is 270. Right? We know that the measure of ADB is 270 degrees. And then, so we know the remaining arc should be 90 degrees. So since this angle, the measure of this angle has to be half the measure of this arc, so it's half of 90 degrees, which is 45 degrees. So the measure of this angle would be 45 degrees. It's not necessarily up to scale, but this is just to prove the concept. Okay. And next we have these exercises. Please pause the video, work on these, and come back for the solutions. Find the measure of the inscribed angle in the circle below. So this is the inscribed arc AB. It has a measure of 80 degrees, and this is angle X. So the angle will be half of the measure of the inscribed arc, which is 40 degrees. Okay, very straightforward. Find the measure of angle 2 in the circle below. So this is the intercepted arc, and both angles intercept the same arc, therefore they have to be congruent, right? So the measure of angle 2 has to be 45 degrees. Okay, and this is it for this concept. See you in the next video.